Okay, so yeah, we all kind of strong people familiar with the concept. So I don't really know what else to say without repeating myself again. So perhaps we just go through the repetition. So you're not the body, you're not the mind. Any doubts about that? There might be doubts because that was this other day. Terry was asking Julia, answer only questions of which you are absolutely 100% certain, 100% of the time. And if anyone asks me, are you the body? I would say, I don't know. Because if I say I'm not the body, now I've created duality. Me and the body. There is a duality. If there is only one, I'm everything or nothing and nothing. So that body is included. So can I be absolutely certain I'm not the body? No. Can I be certain I am the body? No. Can I be certain I'm the mind or I'm not the mind? No. And it ends up, if we really speak from that standpoint, which is a beautiful way to speak. Like I really like the way Terry says, just be honest, just be absolutely honest. Only say when you are 100% certain, when you're ready to die for it, when it's so certain. So if you are about to be killed, if you say something that's not true, you think twice. What are you? Are you the space? Are you sure? Are you the nothingness? Are you sure? Are you the absolute or the totality or that? Really? What if your head is going to be chopped if the answer is wrong? And you are allowed to say, I don't know. Just keep saying, I don't know. Because I don't know is the answer which shuts down the mind. Mind hates not knowing. Mind is all about, oh yeah, I know the answer. I know what I am or what I'm not. So the I don't know this is funny. I had this, the Ramana Maharshi meditation is it's not his really, it's been around for 1,000 years, but that's how it is known. It's adopted by many of the Zen Sanghas, and I happen to sit with few of them. And they would often sit with the question, who am I? But the Sangha that I was sitting with, the Korean Kwan Sangha, they give you the answer. The answer, don't sit with who am I, just focus on the answer, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know who am I. So the question is, the questioner is the problem. But when the answer is said to the mind, I don't know, it's almost the same as the mind is saying, shut up. Like, it's nothing, I don't know. If the mind admits that, what is it going to seek for? The answer is given. The question is resolved. The answer is, I don't know. And now, if the mind doesn't interfere, if there is no trying to get the answer or find the answer, if there is no movement of the mind, what's left is the stillness of being. And this is the one thing that we can say with absolute certainty. That's the one thing that you can be ready to die for it, and I'm sure you can confirm it. You exist. If someone would ask you, do you exist? Or are you sure that you are? Are you sure that you exist? Are you certain about your own existence? Who's going to say no? Like, even to say no, you do have to exist. So this is the one thing and the only thing that we can have absolute certainty about. Everything else is a story. Beautiful, romantic, non-duality stories. I'm love, or I'm God, or I'm everything. Yeah, or ridiculous suffering stories. I'm a person, I'm from there. They're all stories. Everything that comes after I am is a story. Actually, even I am can be boiled down to a story because there is the I who exists. And it isn't. There is no existence if there is no I, or there is no I without existing. So I am is really one. It seems like it's two words, but it's one because one without the other makes no sense. And again, it is like Bob says, it is only a translation because the mind is a translating device. So the sense of presence is translated by the mind as a thought, as the I am thought. So if we drop the thought, the concept I am, there is still a presence. Without translating, the presence is still there. Even if I say I am not, the presence is there. So that's the one thing that we don't really need to be taught. Nobody has to give us the answer. Nobody has to teach us. We don't have to discover that. Everybody knows that we exist, that we are, I am. And that's the place to start. That's the place to start, and that's the place to end. Because there is really nothing else. It's just that sense of existence. Everything else is the appearance, is the Maya, the illusion. The reality is the sense of existence, the sense of presence. Everything else is a dream. And yeah, we welcome to admire the dream, to love the dream, to hate the dream, to whatever. This is part of the dream. The response to a dream is a layer over the dream. Like, yeah, that was you were showing me about Krishnamurti, looking at the flower and then having a judgment about the flower. So the looking at the flower is pure consciousness, and the judgment, I like the flower, I don't, there is me and the flower, everything else on top of it is a story, is the added story. So dreaming a flower is one thing, and dreaming the meaning made of a flower, the where the flower belongs, what is the label or the name or the color or the relation to me. They're all veils, layers over the layers of a dream. So the beauty of non-duality is it can wake you up to the dream from all the accumulated veils of thinking, veils of thought, interpreting, commenting, into the plain dream. The plain dream is what is happening in the space of seeing, in my gaze, what is happening in the space of hearing, in the whole space, the capacity of hearing. What is happening, the sensations in the body, the temperature, the balance, the taste, the smell. That's the dream, the basic dream, without any interpretation put over it. Like, oh yeah, okay, that's the sensation in the body. Yeah, but the body is my body, or I am the body is too thin or too fat or too tall or too short, whatever. That's what unnecessary. The invitation on this level, I hate to say level, but really this is like multi-layered reality, like to wake up to the basics of the present. In the present, there is no story, because the story requires time. So in the present, as we are, there is an experiencing going on. There's experiencing going on, not the experiences showing up to me, but just pure experiencing. And it is, experiencer is not disconnected from the experience. It is one. There wouldn't be an experience without the experiencer and without the process of experiencing. So obviously that has to be, it is one that is being divided artificially into the world versus the person. That division is purely conceptual. If we leave it aside, just take it off our mind, that division is completely redundant. It doesn't need to exist. So in the current experience, just as we sit here, experience, the experiencing is going on. The body is experiencing the taste, the touch, the smell, the sights, the sounds. And I can't even say the body is experiencing it, because the body is already the assumption that there is a device here that is experiencing or interacting with the outer environment. But the body is not separated from outer environment. Like, how is the sound of the passing car, how is it separated from my awareness of it, from the fact, from my hearing of it? In that hearing, the ear and the sound is already included. There can't be any barrier drawn. I can't say when one ends and the other starts. It is one. Plus the body, like the way Bob is pointing, the body is completely relying on the elements that it's made of. The body is relying on air, fire, it is water, it is breathing, it is having a temperature, it is solid, there is a matter in it. So it isn't really separated from the elements from which everything else is made. And the sensations are not separated either. Did you want to add something?
Go on. I'll add something later, probably. And you're going well, that's good.
You know. Yeah, so the pure experiencing is happening moment to moment. And if there is no distraction going on, if there is no distraction which will usually be a story about something that is not happening. So what is not happening? My grandmother passed away. That's not happening here now. That is happening in my head. She's not there. She's not passing. She's not past. This is not happening. Every story that we say to ourselves will be having a context in the time. Like, the process, is getting worse. I'm getting, any story about the future or the past or the process or the context is not what is happening in the immediacy. This is good to distinguish, because immediacy is something that is right here, right now. Like the sounds that I'm hearing now, only. Not the sounds that I remember from Terry playing guitar yesterday, beautifully. Not the sounds that I'm going to hear on a concert next week. No, this is what is happening right now. Same with the sights. If I'm thinking about my children and they're not here, then already I'm in the imagination, leaving the immediacy conceptually, and leaving the gut feeling of being and the loving to be, which is a heart feeling of joy, and going to the head and imagining the reality instead of experiencing this one fully. And this one is never ever gonna come back in that form. So if I'm distracting myself and going to the mind and entertaining myself with what isn't, I'm just wasting that precious moment of aliveness, which will never come back. It's only now. It can only be celebrated now. And the way to celebrate it is to embrace it with all the channels available, to hear it fully, to feel it, to taste it, to touch it, to smell it, to experience every movement, every muscle, to just be with it, to just be it. But it's not going to last for long, because we are conditioned to distract ourselves. And conditioning is tough, because the way the mind has been designed, it is offering us the thrill that is seemingly much more juicy than the bluntness, so-called almost a bluntness of this moment. Like if there is no bumping or loud music or a very intensely sugary food going on, then this moment is just boring. It feels like, yeah, what a big deal. Give me something to chew on. Let's put a horror movie or whatever. Go for a violent, what was it, the fashion of the violent sex or something, sadomac or whatever somebody was telling us it's a fashion. Because people are so desensitized from the sensitivity to that subtlety of being is lost. Because of the conditioning, because everything is moving much, much faster. Everything that we want, fast music, fast cars, fast changing colors, loud, everything has to be rough, really. And rebuilding or uncovering that sensitivity to the plain love of being, plain joy of natural state, is undoable for the mind. Mind is being tuned to chew all the time, to be distracted constantly, to have a food, whatever, be it a drama, but just not nothing. Just beat me up, but don't ignore me. So this is something that needs to be recognized, because the recognition is the only cure. There is nothing that can be done, particularly by the mind. Like, what can mind do about the mind? Nothing. It can only fool itself that it can do, it can take decisions, choices, or be a doer. It can't. But the recognition of the mind obviously comes from beyond the mind, because the mind can't recognize itself, because it needs distance to itself to be even aware of itself. So there is something beyond the thought that is aware of thought. And this is the something that is not a thing, but this is what we are referring to. This is the way out of the trap of the mind, because when the mind becomes a content, when the thought stream becomes a content, when the mental images become a content, the identification with them breaks down and the distance is created. So I'm not the content of my thinking anymore. Now I'm the awareness of it. And same as I'm not separated from the sounds I hear from the far, because everything is one. I'm not separated from the content either, because I am the awareness and the content. And in that, in disidentifying from just one object in consciousness, I relax into being everything, the awareness, the objects, the stories, everything. And then, being that everything, the stream of attention dissolves into, like, if 100% of my attention is in my conceptual image, I'm a person, I'm Katarina, whatever, there is nothing left for the awareness of it. I'm fully identified. There is nothing left. I'm completely unconscious, identify with the dream character, just like the actor in the movie. Now, if this identification breaks or it is recognized, like now there comes the idea, oh my God, there is an identification with the image. So now part of the attention that was involved in the image synced out of it and is becoming a space in which the identification is being recognized. So obviously there's no 100% identification anymore if I say, oh my God, this is an identification. So I'm already here looking at it. I'm not it anymore. That's how it happens. Every moment, the mind, the thought, is recognized as a thought. Obviously, I'm the awareness of it. I'm not identified with it anymore. So I'm beyond the thought. I'm beyond the mind. And I'm awake, one could say. But who is awake? There is a wakefulness in which the dreaming happens. There is a wakefulness in which the imaging, imagining my grandmother passing away or the concert next week. This is imagining, dreaming, happening in the awareness, in the wakefulness that I am. So the more this is recognized, and again, person can't do it. Now people will resolve, okay, just like we were talking with Julia yesterday about our first impressions of teachings of Eckhart Tolle, which is absolutely wonderful. There's nothing wrong with that. But at the stage where we were completely immature, the way we heard it, oh my gosh, you have to work so hard now. You have to be alert all the time. That's so exhausting. Who is going to be able to keep that level of alertness? That's terrible. That's a terror. That's not what he's saying. Totally not. But that's how we heard it, being completely immatured and unripe as a fruit. So it is not to say to the mind that now you have to be alert and you have to recognize every time you think, because that would be ridiculous. First of all, mind can't recognize it. The recognition of thought cannot be in thought. The recognition happens from beyond the mind. And obviously, mind has nothing to do with this. The one thing that mind seemingly can do is to just drop off, surrender. But how can mind surrender? How can mind make itself disappear? It can't. How the ego can kill the ego? Like Bob is quoting Banki sometimes. It's like washing away blood with blood. It's not happening. It's not going to happen. So the ego can't kill the ego because the one who's left is still the ego. So the mind cannot recognize the stream of thinking. The recognition of stream of thinking is already the cognizing emptiness, is already the consciousness waking up to itself. So if the recognition happens, the recognition is a gift. This is an act of, one could say, for the person, one could say it's an act of grace. But obviously, the grace is all there is, and a person is a fiction. So it's not really a grace, it's a natural state. So the natural state shines through when the person drops off and the person doesn't do it. So it's absolutely nothing to be done. But this is important to highlight because, at least in my case, the story was when the recognition started happening, when the insights started to flow, and that was for a few years, the mind would come and claim the ownership of it. I've recognized, oh, I had a glimpse, oh, I had an understanding. And the next thing mind would do, it would say, why is it happening so rarely? Why am I not doing any better? I should be having these glimpses now 10 times more often. Why am I not progressing? I'm worthless, I'm absolutely not deserving to die, I'm a piece of shit. So this is the tendency of the mind. It has been conditioned to seek, to get things. It's a beautiful machinery. It's a fantastic equipment. It's brilliant. It's pure intelligence. It's a pure brilliance. It interprets the world. Without the mind, we wouldn't be able to make anything of the seeing. We wouldn't recognize people. We wouldn't recognize things. Without the mind, the computer's mechanism, we wouldn't be able to learn to speak. We wouldn't have language. We wouldn't have civilization. We wouldn't have art. It's absolute brilliance. The trap only comes that with the whole world, the whole beautiful dream, the trick goes that the identification, which is the energy of belief, goes into it and says, now I am the other. The totality now dreams that I'm not totality anymore. I'm the other. I'm the body-mind. So this is the joke. And it has to happen this way. Because that's the will of the Absolute. Experience itself as the other is the vacation from the eternity. You are the eternity. You are timeless, spaceless. Now you are having a vacation. You want some?
I'm sorry, you want to get?
So that's, you can have a sip of mine before he comes. There's a vitamin C in it.
Oh, thanks. Thank you. I left mine in the car. I forgot.
Yes, so the magnificence of the whole appearance, because I remember I only asked Bob one question because I was so obsessively shy. I was so absolutely incapable of finding a courage to be visible enough to even ask questions, that for 3 years of the meetings I asked him only once. Why? Why would the absolute, wonderful, loving totality want to experience itself as fear? This is so off. This is so wrong. And we were laughing at that with Bob a couple of days ago, that everyone has this question in one or the other form. Why ego? Why suffering? Why? Well, I don't have that question anymore because it's so ridiculous. If there wasn't a suffering, if there wasn't a fear, if there wasn't a night, there wouldn't be a day. If there wasn't a pain, there wouldn't be a pleasure. If there wasn't a pair of opposites, if there wasn't the one end of a stick, there wouldn't be the other. So if not for fear, if not for night, if not for suffering, you're still timeless, spaceless, eternal totality or nothingness. The idea of experiencing yourself as the other, just to wake up to yourself again, to experience yourself as the totality, it comes from it. Even that is a duality itself. Duality is counteracting the singularity. How can singularity know itself if not through forgetting itself and waking up? So this is the beauty of the whole dream, is to wake up. But the beauty of waking up is to fall asleep and being able to wake up. So if not for the suffering, if not for fear, if not for separation, which is only a dream, is impossible. In the totality, in the oneness, separation is absolutely impossible. It is not happening. It only seems to be. It is a dream. It only seems to be happening. Just like a person climbing mountains in the dream is not climbing mountains, it's sleeping in bed. And it's not seeing the birds over, it's the eyes are closed. It's not happening, it's the dream. But for the dreaming figure, it's real. So it is to be loved, it is to be appreciated, it is to be enjoyed, and it is to be overcome. Not for the individual, but for the consciousness. This is the divine play. The Hindu call that Leela, divine play. Or Maya. Maya is like a goddess, or Shiva Shakti thing. Shiva is pure stillness, and Shakti is a movement in that stillness. And that very movement is a dance. And in that dance, everything appears. That's a description, but it can be experienced. It actually is being experienced. It is being experienced as that basic sense of being, as that sense of presence, that one very, very one and only thing you can say you're absolutely certain, even if your head is going to be chopped off if you're wrong. This is something that you can't deny. And this is the only thing worthy of dying for. And now this is the only thing for which the individual can die for. And it actually die into it. Because the individual is a dream. As a dream, it has the beginning. So as a dream, it will have an end. If not now, if you not embrace it right now, well, you're not going to avoid it. The body-mind is going to die and ego is going to die with it. But why not now? Why not now? Because the sense of being, the sense of presence is here now, all the time. It never goes away. It's just the destruction of the mind. It's just going to the story, makes it seemingly obscured. It's just the clouds of the noise that makes it seemingly obscure. And also is the attraction of that noise. Because if it wasn't attractive, the sense of being would be all there is. But acknowledging that attraction and enjoying the dream is also part of it. I mean, it's nothing wrong with watching good movies. We're watching good movies occasionally, bad ones too, you can never say. Who's there to judge? Yeah, so it all happens in the dream, and it's all valid in the dream. And it's all fascinating, and it's all beautiful, and it's all beloved. But when it is known for what it is such a different way of enjoying it. When Nisargadatta says, the only thing you need to do is recognize the dream as a dream. He says, the dream is not your problem. Your problem is that you like or love one part and not the other. The order of value in the dream. If it was known to be a dream, what a big deal. If you watch a fantastic movie and there is a plastic bag flowing, or there is a dirt in the movie, or there is a dark character in the movie, what's the problem with that? It's a movie, it has to be this way. But because we take the dream so seriously, the suffering becomes the reality. The dream becomes the reality. It is believed to the reality. So we have the sense of separate entity or individual or a person or conceptual image that we hold about ourselves, and we dream it to the reality. We're dreaming it to become what it is, and it feels like, okay, I'm that person. I'm here and I'm not there. You know, like my location. I can't locate it in the body, but I can very easily locate it where it is not. Like I can say it is not 100 meters from me, which is not true. If I know there is 100 meters from me, which I don't exist, then obviously there is a knowing of it. So you can't really even unlocate yourself. But for the purpose of the example, you can say, okay, I'm here, but not there. And that's a concept. When it is believed, it becomes reality. And we start living from that predicament. And we start defending this one and not that. And we start being preoccupied with this and not that, because this is me and this is not. But this is basically, this is all dreamt. Am I pronouncing it right? Sorry.
Pronunciation is not real.
No, the word is not the thing.
Which word?
Yeah. Yeah, none of them. Which word is a thing? Yeah, maybe the word is a thing. Yeah, it's amazing the way that the whole appearance came into existence basically by learning words and dreaming them to a reality. Because this is what the symbolic language is about. When I say the word rabbit, you have the mental image of a rabbit. And we can agree that his granddaughter have a couple of rabbits and then they exist, they are real. But we can't experience them, we can experience only the world. And the symbolic language is what creates the whole time-space. Like if there was no symbolic language, how could I even describe about the place of my grandmother or another continent? They only exist as symbols. And now those symbols are covering up as labels everything we see. We distinguish things, like physics will tell us that there is the same amount of atoms or particles vibrating here as it is here, in the solid substance and in the space. There's no difference. It's only the configuration, which is not even a fixed thing. It's a field of potentiality. It's almost as if reassuring its existence with our gaze and agreeing of its existence by labeling it out of the space makes it real. That's how the whole Maya, the whole dream, becomes a reality. And what a magnificent miracle. What a miracle. But when we take it as the gospel, as reality, it's not a wonderful miracle anymore, it's a nightmare. It's, like even maybe, if you believe you're wonderful, you're better than the others, you're not dying on the streets of Calcutta and you're not leper.
Like Bob.
Then it's not so bad, but you're still gonna age. You're still gonna get sick. You're still gonna lose your dear ones. Even if you're reasonably comfortable in a dream, you're not gonna avoid the dread of transition. Like people are afraid of dying, or some people are not afraid of their own death because what a big deal, I won't know. But if they have children, and imagine the children dying, oh my God, the world, the conceptual world, the world of images is full of fear, it's full of dread. It's not that much fun. And if it is, it doesn't last. The fun doesn't last because you want to hold it, you want to keep it here. Now I'm good, so what do we do not to lose it? It's crazy. It's crazy because the whole dream is transient, is moving, is constantly changing. And that's the beauty of it. Even the most beautiful, most tasty food and most tasty relationships, they fade, they change, they dance, they have ups and downs. There is no boredom, there is always a dance, there is always a flow. And that's the beauty of it. But that's also the pain of it if there is an assumed reference point. If there is a reference point, that reference point will be trying to preserve the pleasure and push away the pain. And that's impossible because everything is transient, everything is moving, is changing. Nothing can be preserved or nothing can be pushed away in long term. Of course, I can push away the mosquito for a moment, but in a long term, everything is going to take a turn. The day is going to end and the night is going to start. The seasons are changing. Everything is constantly moving. So with the reference point, one way or the other, the pleasure is going to end and is going to change into pain. Without the reference point, pleasure and pain are going to be dancing on the screen, moving on the screen. But the screen is going to be untouched. The screen is invulnerable. Body can be hurt. Body is a screen. But body is a screen for the pain. But in which light is the body being known? In that light of awareness, the body is being known as the screen for experiences, for pains, for whatever. The mind is a screen for other sensations, for thoughts, for images. But in which light is the body-mind being known? What is there prior to any experiencing, prior to any screen? is again the pure existence. In that existence, and then we could have Dzogchen Tony arguing here and thank him for that, and love to Tony, that existence is not a thing. Of course it's not a thing. Because we say there's one thing that is for real, there is one thing that is certain, there is one thing that can't be denied. It's not a thing. It's not a nothing either. It's neither a thing nor a no-thing. It can't be described, because if it could be described, you would have to move away from it to actually be able to disassociate yourself to describe it. So there are attempts to describe it, but there is no valid description that could be ever done. If there was, you would read it about it in newspaper or whatever. It can't be done, because this is the essence, the emptiness that becomes form. This is the static aspect that dynamically moves and changes into the appearance. This is what I am. This is what you are. This is what I am. I am. There is I am in every one of you. So there is the same I am, the same being, the existence, the presence. So the same being kind of expressing and experiencing itself in different form. So there is the same being in that mobile phone that is recording. It has a being it has an existence, the being that is prior to senses. It doesn't sense it because it doesn't have senses. Or it has sensors, but it doesn't have the consciousness of the sensors. I do it for it. Because I is the only thing there is. So everything has the being. Bob sometimes uses that analogy. This is being a carpet. This is being a chair. This is being Katarina or whatever. The being. There is a being in everything. Did you want to say something?
No.
No,
Ah.
sorry. The cat is distracting me.
I'm getting a mess up.
Oh,
He's
blame
trying
it!
to ignore the cat.
Blame it on poor innocent cat. Of course, blame it on cat.
It's me. I'm sorry.
No,
I got very distracted by your Puss in Boots. He's like,
Yeah.
he's trying so hard to pay attention. I'm not. I'm just, my attention's gone there. I'm sorry.
You are not sorry. Yes, so jump on board, people. Tell us about it. So distraction.
Ah, there's a distraction.
For words if you want.
Oh, cool. Yes, we all like that.
Very, very good, Kat. Excellent.
Thank you, darling.
That's so too.
We can break it down into its simplicity. We started off with knowing, and when you say, I don't know, could you say that if there wasn't a knowing there? So even if the knowing, don't know appears on it, it appears on the knowing. The same with the being. If anyone who is, say they're not being, or not aware, or not existing, there must be an existence to know that you're being or existing. And anyone who's not happy to be. And they put it simply in the Hindu scriptures and lots of other things, but they're not the basic ones either, like I'm going to say. They're just another explanation. It's Sept, Chit and Nanda. Being, knowing and loving to be. That's the actual functioning. And it says the other two factors are nama rupa, the name and form. Haven't we put names on everything or labels on everything? And we've got the shapes and forms that are in this room, out there in the manifestation. They're the Maya or the illusion. And we recognise the word or the label is not the thing. And we got locked into the word and believing the word is thing. But it comes back to that. Everything is that, and that is a word or a label. But that is describing something. How many things can there be in the no thing? So the things are all description or ideas or concepts about it. Everything is that. But we lose sight of that. We think it's put the labels on, take the word or the label or the concepts to be real. And they tell you to abide as that. To stay with the thatness, which is the stillness, the Satchitananda is being or existing aware of the stillness, which they call the stillness Brahma, Shiva, or all sorts of other labels, call it God, but take those labels off, it's still the basic screen, stillness and silence. And then we're looking at the mind, and we've taken this mind to be something, some real. Investigate the mind and see if there is such a thing as mind. And you realise the mind is nothing but thought. Thinking is mind. And if your mind was a thought, which particular thought would you be? Well, we immediately put I am the mind. That thought up, conceptual, individual, separate entity. We believe that is the mind, as that is what I am. The personal being. But the person is not reality when you look at it. So that is all there is. There only this pure functioning in the myriads and ways it does. And you can't be anything other than that. So when they say, abide as that, where else can you really abide? Where else can you live? Can you live outside of any of it? Try and separate yourself from any of it. And we're talking about things and no thing. And that's all the manifestation is made up of things. But is the thing the actual? Is it the real? The things we put labels or words on. So it's all coming in that basic screen of stillness and silence, which is no thing. You can't describe the stillness or the silence or the emptiness. We try to. Just to try, same as we try to describe awareness. But can any of you tell me what awareness is? You can put a label on it. But again, none of you can say, I am not unaware right now. So without describing it, you know that awareness is constantly there. And hasn't it been there all through this talk? Or you've been thinking of all sorts of things on top of it, maybe, or maybe not. So realise you're always and never that. Never been anything else. That'll do for now because I can't remember all the things I need to say or anything. That's good. So try and keep recognising that instead of getting the conceptual images and the words and labels we put upon ourselves and trying to grasp it with a concept. Because you'll never, this Agata tells you, you'll never grasp it with a concept. And there is no such thing as a seeker when you look into it. And when you see it, I am seeking to become. Seeking is moved away from immediacy and relating it to an image, a conceptual image, I or me, a personal image. So we say here, start from the fact you are already that. You always have been. And you think always will be. But we've labelled ourselves with millions of concepts. We've acquired millions of concepts and ideas and thoughts. And we've got all the psychological concepts and ideas, and we try and go through them to bring ourselves till there's stillness and stillness. But what is wrong with right now if you're not conceptualising, if you're not thinking about it, if you're not thinking about it, you're not dividing the thinking into the thinker and the thought, the seer into the seer and the seen. Realise there's thinking, seeing, tasting, touching, smelling, all these functions going on. If it's not divided, what is it? As it always was, it's the one essence, it's appearing, patterning, shaping and forming, expressing as everything. And there could be no manifestation if it didn't vibrate in the interrelated opposites. Shakespeare told you there couldn't be good or bad, pleasant or pain, happy or sad, without a thought. Nothing either good or bad, but thinking makes it so. And looking into the thinking, try and find the thinker. And you realise there's no thinker, but there is thinking. So you must be the thinking. You must be the seeing. You must be the hearing. Stay with that. Thanks, Ken.
Beautiful. Beautiful. I love that reminder. Awareness of stillness. Being aware of stillness. Like this is something that is there all the time. This is the true nature, the natural state. It's there all the time. It's only obscured by the noise. But awareness of stillness, being aware of stillness, Sat Chitananda, what he just said. Sat Chitananda, being aware of stillness. Or being knowing and loving to be. Everyone is aware of stillness. It's obviously not suiciding. It's
And
there.
it's the thing closest to you right now is that stillness. There's no movement in space in front of you. Space doesn't move. The movement appears out there. And the silence, could there be silence without sound? Or sound without silence? Hear the silence in this room right now? Recognise it? And the basic stillness? But we're not used to staying there. We constantly want to move away to some concept and think we're going to grasp it with a concept, with an idea. I've got it. It's this, it's that. And the Sakata tells you plainly and clearly, we try to grasp it with a concept and we fail. And you're always and ever bound to fail. Because as the Buddhists put it, it's non-conceptual awareness. The great perfection is non-conceptual awareness. It's that unawareness which you're knowing that you are right now from the point of view of awareness, where you wouldn't know it, without any concepts. Simple.
That's what we were talking to Julia yesterday also, about that state where Tony is using a fantastic set of words, if she could only speak it slower. Nothing is being made of anything. There is quiet, the mind is quiet. Things are happening on the screen of awareness and they are not being interpreted, retranslated, they are not being evaluated. It's just quiet. Like we were having a nice chat yesterday while, the life situation can present you with challenges now. And you can obviously see that situation is not really that easy to resolve or is challenging. But wait a minute. What if I could find something positive in this? What if I could, maybe it is all coming to good. Maybe this is going to be fantastic. And I say, well, there is a third option. You can evaluate situation as negative or challenging. You can find something good and retranslate it as positive or learning process or whatever, or you can just shut up. And have absolutely no story about it. Just be quiet about it. It is what is. It doesn't need the story, whether it is good or bad or anything at all. It helps, of course, changing the negative thinking into positive thinking. It helps. The dream is going to be more pleasurable. But there is an opportunity to wake up from thinking and leave it as it is. And have no judgment about the situation, what it is, good, bad. No, it's just as it is. And that's even more pleasurable, is even more sweet than brainwashing yourself that this is great. Or even convincing yourself and really believing that this is great. Believe in anything is always a dream over a dream and is unnecessary. Even believing that something is wonderful is just unnecessary. The plain reality as it is, where this awareness of stillness shines forth, is much, much sweeter and is much, much more conscious and more alive. Any ideas, even believed dearly, are still a dead, flat ideas, while the aliveness can be experienced fully, not translated to through the thoughts or stories. But again, not for the mind.
And anybody who is not that, it says Tony was just saying this and that, well, Tony is that. Anyone in this room who is not that.
Yeah. Anyone
Well,
could.
no wonder it's the main mantra. I am that, thou art that, this is that, everything is that. We know that in our label. That's the chair, that's the carpet, that's Bill, that's me, that's you. We put labels on it. We take the label or the word to be real. Here's the word, the thing. Here's the description to describe. Here's the map, the territory. Isn't that right, Kat? Thank you. Yeah.
It's a beautiful distraction.
Oh, it's pure love. Yeah, see, doesn't have any ego, doesn't evaluate situation, just melts into it. It's one with the environment, and it's playful. It's joyous. Darling.
In my experience, Bob, the last thing. The last thing to go was that.
Tony, can you roll
Was that core sense of me, yeah. And but to get to that core sense of me, there was a whole lot of other shedding that had to take place. Because when I first got introduced to this, whatever it was that was rambling between both my ears, I wore it. I was it, you know. When I would have a thought, and I did, and you know, a lot of people do at some point in time in their life, but you know, when I had a thought, for example, you're useless, you know, you're a dickhead, whatever, it just, especially all the self-criticising stuff that used to go on, I embodied those thoughts and became it, you know. And then I got introduced to this, and there's a, you know, Kat touched on it. The first phase for me was starting to recognise the thought, or thoughts rather, and just in the doing, without getting really complicated, but just in the doing of that, there started, it seemed like, because that's the only way I can put it, that there started to be a separation from all the content that was going on in my mind. I could actually start to see it as being something separate from me, or something over there, as opposed to I'm it, and I'm wearing it. And then, tricky little bastard that it is, I started to have realizations, and I started to see different things, you know. And I got to a point where there was so much gap between awareness and content, let's say, that it was like completely apparent that I'm not that. I could see that. And there was no more questions arose. There's nothing. And I was just kind of, there was a sense of being in a limbo state, just floating, not kind of knowing what to do, where to go, where to look, what to ask, how to be, just a not knowing kind of arose. And when I said before that the last thing that was recognised here was that core sense of me, was because, and I didn't realise this, all that I'd become aware of, and all that I'd seen, I'm not this, I'm not that, I'm not, and so on, even the concepts and the ideas that I picked up along the way, that I'm nothing but I'm everything. I'm love. I'm emptiness but I'm fullness. Like all the terminologies, all the jargon that I picked up along the way from listening to Bob and others, that was also in the mix, you know. And what I didn't realise was, yes, absolutely, there was awareness of all that, but what I didn't see was that there was a core sense of me that was left, that was saying, I can see that. I was still claiming ownership of that was aware of all that. And it was the last thing I spotted. It was the very last thing that I spotted. The last thing. And it had nothing to do with the content anymore. The ideas of a me, and what I believe the world is, and just had nothing to do with all that. But it was a sense of, I'm here. Like, I'm here. Just a sense of. So that you know, I don't know if anyone else is going through that, but that can be really, really, really confusing. Like, really confusing. Because you kind of end up with feeling a bit lost, actually. All I did. I just kind of felt a bit lost, and I knew that on some intellectual level or in duality, if you like, I knew that I wasn't going to get the answer there. Like, I knew that. I knew that, you know. And yet there was still, you know, I've said it before, I still kind of felt like I was here. I still felt like I was stuck. You know, I still felt like there was a meanness here, you know. And it was in that realisation that I just saw that last little thing that separate so-called individual or idea of self was hanging on to. And the last thing that it, because everything else kind of got blown away, but the last thing that it was hanging on to was that I'm aware. This is my awareness, and I still see that. And I didn't recognise that initially as still being a self-identity, still being like a separate self that was seeing that. And then for whatever reason, I just saw it. I heard it. I saw it. It was like the last tiny little bit of a thing that was left that I couldn't even describe it, because I described the shit out of it prior to that, and it stilled me. It stopped me. It was a bit of a shock, really, to even recognise it and see it, you know. And there was no story attached to it. There wasn't. I'd done the story, you know. There was just, and I just saw, you know, the last thing it was hanging on to, which is kind of makes sense, you know, because the me believes it needs to survive. It's got to hang on to something, you know. There's like this self-survival mechanism that goes on, you know, and you know, the scariest thing of all to let go of, to really, for that identity to let go of, was aliveness, was that sense of presence, was that sense of awareness. Of course, that was the thing that you know, out of all things, that was the thing that I would protect most. Because if I die, I'm not here. You know, that was that sense of presence, and I just saw that, and it kind of became a bit funny, really, because I saw it. I just look, and I saw that core sense of me. I saw that as clearly as the experience that I experienced when I was seeing I'm not the content. Like, there comes a point where you can see it. You just know you're not, you know you're not the content of thought I'm talking about, all the images and ideas and concepts and so on and so forth. You do absolutely eventually get to a point where you go, I can see that. I know I'm not that. The same applies to that core. So there was a further, but it's really, really tricky because it presents itself.
Is there a core there?
No.
So all that we talked about before was conditioned belief.
Yeah.
You got through the conditioning, but that pure conditioning was still there, as you like, believing to be something there. When you see there's even that, you can't. What conditioning is there if you don't think about it?
Yeah.
It dissolves.
Yes.
There was nothing there, so you've always been that.
Yes.
Good.
And even the idea
So
that
I
there
think
is
that's, you know, like,
there is something that needs to be dropped off.
Yeah.
If there is any idea that is something wrong, that very idea is the
And all that kind of, as I was saying, that, yeah, that was just all in content, but in the end was just that I still feel like I'm here. What a beautiful thing to come out of my mouth. And didn't realise it.
You verbalised it.
Because, yeah, I still feel like I'm here.
Is there anywhere else you can be?
No, that's the irony of it. Like, and then there was the, and I saw that. I absolutely, it was in that I saw that. Like, I saw that. You know, I don't know where else.
what's the problem of
Yeah,
being here?
I don't know what the fuck else I was expecting to find. Like, really, you know, like.
Yeah, beauty.
Pure being here was free of conditioning.
Yeah, and that's all it is. It's literally just the conditioning stops. It does.
How did you feel after that?
Just here.
That's it.
Yeah.
And
Here. Without an idea of what here was. Kat touched on it before, you know, that sense of presence. When we're still identified with the me, that sense of presence is like really bland. You're fucking kidding me. Surely this ain't it. It's got to be, there's got to be something else that I'm not aware of, that I'm not seeing. You want to know why it does that? Because that me, if you like, cannot experience that sense of presence. It can't.
you're still involved.
It can't. It can't experience. It doesn't actually know what the fuck it is. It can't experience it.
It's a dead image.
It's dead.
Yeah.
Yet it claims ownership of it, which was the last thing that left here. It claims ownership of it. Goes, yeah, I know what awareness is. It's pretty fucking ordinary. Like, really? This is it? You know? But the actual experience of that sense of presence, rather than the conceptual, or, you know, looking through conceptual glasses of what we think it is like night and day. It's just like night and day. You can't even compare the two, because one doesn't even exist. You know, it doesn't exist. Yeah.
Beauty.
Mm. But it's I hear it in people. I hear it in people that are still stuck in the seeking. You know, yeah, I get that, and I understand that, and I see that, you know, and then you've got to ask them at that point when people get to that, who sees that? Who knows that? Who recognises that? Because there's still a me there claiming ownership of, oh, I can now see that, or I'm now aware of that, or I now get that. You know, so there's kind of a whole lot of noise that needs to be seen first. A lot of fucking noise. You know, over 50 years of noise that you carry around. That kind of needs to be seen first. And then it kind of just, in my experience, it's kind of all narrowed down into one point, if you like. It's all that noise. And it eventually just kind of narrowed down into one point. And that point for me was, I still feel like I'm here.
Yeah.
Hallelujah.
Used to say, point out, turns up knots in the guts, aches, lumps in the throat. You look into it, look right into it. Where is it?
Yeah.
And you see there's nothing solid there. But as I say, it's got to be seen.
And also another thing that is a big difference. I mean, when there is still some subtle sense of me, even though that me believes now, I've got it, I understand it, I'm this. Now I have the clarity, I am clear or I'm enlightened. And there is still a tension here. Oh my gosh, I have to make sure everybody believes that. That very tension, that idea that, oh my God, this is so important that other people also know that, and I have to never forget about it, I got it, I have to make myself believe that I've got it. This uneasiness, this is the very core self, like you call it, this sense of uneasiness, because if there is any sense of contraction here, any sense of unworthiness, any involvement in the shape or form of the image, it means there is the realization is the realization of no self. There is nothing there. There is no contraction there. There is no distance. There is no difference between the pure space, cognizing space, in here and out here is complete ease. There is no, I don't care what people think about me. I don't care whether they believe or don't believe, or what I've got or what I didn't get or what I lost, or doesn't matter. If there is any sense of contraction, that's the contraction that needs to be recognized. And that contraction needs to be seen as the content. And the screen is the awareness. The pure knowing is the awareness. So it doesn't mean that if someone will insult me, there won't be a natural response of contraction for a moment. It will. Like if I step on the tail of a cat, there will be a natural response. If someone slaps me in the face with words or with hand, there will be a natural response. But this response, as soon as the trigger is gone, response will be gone. So I won't be carrying it around for weeks or months or whatever, because there is no one to refer or relate to that would be involved. Doesn't mean that, that the insult is not going to trigger reaction. Reaction is part of survival mechanism of the body. Physical as a slap, or emotional because that body is complicated enough to recognize both of them. But if the contraction stays, investigation is to be invited.
Yeah, investigate, have a look, see if it's there. Where you're looking at it from. You realise I'm looking from out here or out there somewhere. Go back and see where you're looking at that from. See if you can find a centre anywhere at all. There's nothing there. And you've got to do that a few times. Can you ever believe it again? Wherever you're looking at something in the body or anywhere else from, you must be looking from somewhere. You're looking at it from the eyes, go back and have a look and see where you're looking at the eyes from, or what's coming out of the eyes. But all sorts of concepts and ideas on it, and you can't find a spot anywhere you can say this is what it is.
Pure awareness, the pure knowing, like the knowing of being, is not filtered yet by the biocomputer, because the pure awareness, when filtered by the body, becomes the awareness of the content of seeing, the awareness of the content of hearing. Like now, I'm aware of you in the room, but that awareness is already filtered through the eyes. Blind person would not have that same experience. Or the content of hearing, again, this is awareness about or awareness of. Pure awareness doesn't even need senses, doesn't even need sensing. This is a transformer in which the pure awareness is transformed into the hearing, seeing, tasting, touching, smelling. But the being, the awareness of being, is not the same as the awareness of hearing, seeing, tasting, touching, smelling, because it doesn't require the eyes or the ears or anything. Some people say that, awareness of being, it feels like a vibration in the body, so it is a sensory experience. Yes, but this is not the awareness of being. This is the expression of it.
So the way you say now, So is it true one of that senses all the five senses and one that observes that?
The senses are actually the way the world is experienced
Yeah.
and expressed through the senses
Right.
is the awareness that is filtered through the body. But
Right.
who is aware of the five senses? Who is aware of all that? Like there is a being prior to.
Yeah.
Yeah, they call it non-conceptual awareness, which is awareness that doesn't get filtered through the mind, and seeing, hearing, tasting, touching, smelling is filtered through the mind. People who are brain dead, they can't tell you the smell or the sense, or they can't recognize objects. So the non-conceptual is really non-sensual as well, because the sensory objects are the labels that we agreed that they are objects separated. Objectively, so-called, the science would tell you that the field of potentiality, what you see becomes kind of, becomes the experience. So the awareness of being is not the being expresses as the vibration of sensations in the belly or whatever, or as the smell of the air or temperature of the environment. That's the expression of it. That's how it is interpreted by the body. But the existence, the pure existence, the knowing that you are, is not a sensory knowing, it's pre-sense. It's prior to the sensory knowing. Presence, pre-sense.
Yeah.
And it can't be denied. That's the only thing. It can't be found, it can't be measured, it can't be described, but it can't be denied either. So you can't say that you're not being or you're not aware. That's the only thing that we can say about it. And that's who we are, because how could I say who or what I am without moving away from myself to be able to see it and describe it? And obviously when I move away from myself to see it and describe it, I'm not that myself anymore, I'm something else. So it's totally impossible to ever find the answer, who am I or what am I? Or what is being or what is knowing. Because that's one thing. I am the being, knowing, loving to be. So I can't ever really, this is just a label, but really I can never ever be aware of that Sat Chitananda, because this is what I am. I am the awareing agent. I am the awareness itself, the awareing. Not the object in it, but the subjectivity, pure subjectivity. So the moment this is, I repeat it, I hate repeating myself, but I have to do it because the vocabulary is limited. It is. That's right. Yeah, if not for Sabine challenging me on listening to Bob for like 6 weeks every day the same spiel, I wouldn't understand it the way I did. Yeah, it is.
Repetition is good.
It is good. You're right.
I don't say it too many times. I don't think, for me, I can never hear enough.
That's true. Yeah, it carries the right frequency.
Yeah.
It offers the silence that underlies. The words are only a medium, and they're conveying the certainty of being, because that certainty in Bob and in me, in Terry, in many of you is unshakable. It should be unshakable in everyone, because who can deny the being?
Yeah. Everyone in this room is that.
Yeah.
Why don't you have a look and see?
Yeah.
So before you said, Bob, that there's no seeker, you said, right? So what is the difference between you and me at this stage? Because, okay, I know we're the same thing, same person, or same energy, whatever, right? But
Yeah.
I'm on this side of the fence and you're on the other side of the fence, sort of thing, right?
Who's on that side?
Well, the character that I think I am, I
The
suppose.
conceptual image you've got about yourself, the personal existence. But is there any difference between the knowing that's there and the knowing that's here? Or the awareness that's appearing on there or here? Can you divide them or separate them? I'll tell you that. So if you can't divide it, what must you be? Why are you frightened of saying it? Grasping it, I am that. Again, conditioning stops you from taking, oh, it couldn't possibly be me or I.
Yeah, the difference between you and Bob is only in your mind. Bob doesn't see the difference. Bob knows there is no
I understand,
difference.
that's what I said before.
Yeah.
I understand what but
So you explain the difference. Bob can't explain it because for him there is no difference. For you there is a difference. What
for
is
me
the
there is,
difference?
because I see myself as a seeker, whereas Bob just said before there is no seeker. I understand that too, but I don't know.
Yeah, that's fantastic. So it's only the way you see yourself as. This is the only difference. The image that you have of yourself is the only difference.
And that's the conditioned pattern you've got to be based on your past events and experience and your life, what everybody's told you, what you told yourself, all conditioning.
So in other words, you're saying because I see myself as a seeker, then
Yes.
I'm a seeker. Otherwise,
Yeah. Otherwise you're not.
You're not
If you relax that image of a seeker, forget about it. When you fall asleep, you're not a seeker.
that's right.
Yeah.
And another way of looking at it is there's seeking. So relax. It's got nothing to do with you. Do you understand?
Yeah.
Like there,
Oh.
there is seeking.
Mm-hmm.
But the problem is, then a seeker steps in and goes, yeah, I am seeking. No. There's just seeking.
Yeah. So in other words,
Seeing, hearing, tasting.
so I've got to separate from the fact that there is seeking, but there's no I seeking.
Yeah, and it's just investigation.
And then
Yeah.
this grace thing, that's what
Comes
seems
from-
to be
yeah.
the one I'm waiting on.
Hmm.
The grace thing that comes from beyond the mind.
That can really be misinterpreted too.
Yeah. You have to
Yeah.
watch out for
You
this.
do
Yeah.
have to watch out for that. You know, I sat for years waiting for that to happen. Like for years. I sat for years waiting for so-called grace to happen. You know, like, come on, fucking wake up. Because there's no me here.
Yeah.
And intellectually I knew that, you know.
And
But so if it's not
one
up,
day grace smote through.
so if it's not up to me, then come on.
Wake up.
The last thing, one of the last things I let go of was the waiting.
The what?
Waiting.
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 I stopped seeking. Like the seeker or the seeking, like the trying to find answers, that stopped. And then I just got to a point where I'm, okay, I can't make this, me can't make this happen. Knew that. Me cannot make this happen. Me is the problem. So me can't make this happen, you know. So then I just found myself residing in a perpetual state of waiting. But there was still me waiting. Do you understand? And that waiting was going to take as long as it took, providing there was a me here waiting, that waiting would go on for eternity. Forever.
So as long as there was a waiter, there was waiting.
Yeah.
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 Waiter. Cool. Yeah.
And then I just went, fuck this, and I just let it all go. Like, and it was just something that spontaneously happened. If I could have made that just letting it all go happen much sooner, I fucking would have. I would have done that.
Thank you.
But that's not what came up. So
not
it
gonna
just
happen.
it just spontaneously came up to, yeah, the last thing. Well, yeah, it's just I was just waiting, and I was waiting for grace. I was waiting for grace, you know, and while I'm waiting for grace, it's not going to happen. So I just so for me it was just sit. That's all I did. I just got to just fucking sit still. You idiot, sit still, shut the fuck up, and isn't it a great blue sky? And it was as fucking simple as that. Seriously, as simple as that.
That's the key to simplicity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nothing simpler than one.
Yeah.
And it's not even one.
I use the term grace because a lot of people, you've heard me use that in the past. I use that because to try and do what I just tried to explain to Tony, there is seeking already happening. So fucking relax into that. Just relax into that. Another way of saying that is you're already being taken. Relax the fuck out, you know what I mean? Like, sit back into it. But it's difficult for me to do that because it feels like it needs to grab at things. I need to know that. I need to have that. I need to understand that, and it's difficult to do that, you know. So I try and get around that with people that are still doing that by saying, look, you want to wake up, it's got nothing to do with you. It's got nothing to do with you. Just sit back and relax. You're already being lived this way. Already being lived this way. Problem is, we take credit for how I'm living this way. And that needs to be seen.
Tony, I really understand what's going on because I identify. And this morning it was a recognition of, oh, hang on. I wake up and then I wake up to a projection. I wake up to a projection of who I am and what I'm projecting. And I don't know, and a bit like what you were saying, oh, so I'm not any of that, then what is there? And so there was a freak out because I'm grasping for an identity. I'm grasping for, oh, I'm an addict, I'm full of shame, I'm revolting, or I'm bliss, or I'm whatever. But there's a thing that I'm thinking that I am. And this morning was kind of the first time where there was, oh, hang on, I'm still conceptualizing. I'm always conceptualizing. And without that, it's like, give me something to feel. I need something to feel because it feels like this is nothing. So give me a sugar hit, or let's overeat because then I can feel something.
I can relate to everything you said. That's exactly where I'm at. Exactly where I'm. And I actually remembered a dream that I had from last night. It was so clear. I was losing my computer in this dream, and you know the computer. Sorry.
She was losing her computer
in my dream, you know, and it was you know, I was so worried about it because it was my work, and that's my identity. For me, it's always been that's my conditioning. My work is my identity. And but you know, but then Bob came to my brain, and as I was waking up, I thought I've got to go this morning, and Bob's face was this in my brain, which was very strange.
It's a concept.
You're haunting her dreams.
Okay, there you go. It's very interesting. Yeah, very interesting. But I have exactly that same feeling.
I'm constantly projecting something onto Bob, onto you. Like there's a constant projection.
Yeah.
Constantly.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
That's so cool to see. That's so cool to see, Tess. Like, that needs to be seen. Absolutely needs to be seen. That's awesome. It can be really disconcerting though, because when you kind of sit back prior to that, like, and that's just kind of like sitting back into that, the awareness of that kind of feels a bit spaceless.
Yeah.
It feels a bit empty, and you'll find when that does happen, that's when you'll really start to see the grabbing. I need to hold on to something. It's like you're drowning, and you're clutching at something to stop yourself from drowning. That's when you really see that. And you just kind of got to go through that. You got to sit with that.
I don't want to.
And it's just, I don't want to. It's all, listen, the safe thing is...
You're being drowned? Is that what you're going to tell me?
No. Look, the safe thing is that it's all conceptual. Everything. Everything I just said, everything you... They're just ideas. Seriously.
But what I did like, what you were talking about before, that at the end of all that, there was, oh, but I'm still here.
Yeah.
Kaz, drop the wanting and be the needing.
Drop the wanting and be the
Needing.
The needy.
the needing.
The difference between wanting and needing.
Yes, one more time. Explain it, Bob.
Explain the needing.
Drop the wanting, be the needing.
Yeah. Do you really want it, or do you need it? Wanting can be conceptualizing it, but needing it is something you really require. What do you need right now? You might want many sort of things, but can you add anything onto that being that you are?
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. Like, you know, the idea of grasping. that you want to distract yourself, you want to medicate yourself, you don't want to sit with that void because it's kind of uncomfortable, that silence or that void. And it's just, but do you really need any of those things? Do you really need to run away from it? You don't. It's what you need, you all have already. And what you need is actually, you need to wake up. You need to stay with it. The wanting is something that is only in the head, is only conceptual, it's a movement of the mind. Is that what you meant?
Yeah. And the needs generally come about without trying. You need to take a breath right now. Well, did you want to do that, or was it just
So in my case, I feel that unless I'm doing something, I'm not going to get there. Like that's, I know that's my idea, my concept, or whatever. Right? So I need to listen to someone, or meditate, or do something, because if I don't do anything, it's
well,
like
if that's a need, that will happen.
So I should let go all that.
No, well, so for needing to do something, you do it. I need to do this. There's a difference between a wanting and a need.
The idea that you should continue or you should stop is just a dream, because you have no saying, really. I mean, if you are moved to continue, you will continue showing up on the meeting or reading or doing whatever. And if you meant to stop, you will stop. Whether you will say, okay, I can't do anything, so I will stop now. Now you are pretending to be a doer who has the power to choose to stop. You can't. It will either happen or it won't. You are only the awareness of whatever is happening.
So whether I think I'm seeking or I'm not thinking or seeking,
Yeah.
it's got really nothing to do with me.
Totally nothing. It's just the content of the movie. You are the screen, and the movie is about seeker or about non-seeker or whatever is on the movie. It doesn't really matter. You are the screen. You are untouched by it, and you can't do anything about it. The movie is already playing. You can't change it. You can't do anything about it. You can't stop seeking either. You can't start. You can only be aware of it. You can only wake up to it and see what's going on.
What is the description of yourself?
Sorry, say again?
What's the description of yourself? What do you think you are?
Well, I've got one idea, one concept, and then I've been told it's different. But personally, I can't say I've experienced that. I've had touches, but I can't. It's not always the case. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah, so but what Bob is asking you
yeah,
is describe that self.
What do you think
Honestly,
you are?
what you actually think you are, not what the right answer is.
yeah.
What's your direct experience right now? What do you think you are? What's going on?
Well, at the moment, I think I'm searching.
You're a seeker, a personal seeker.
Yes.
And that needs to be a bit over the person.
Are you the person?
The person, persona, is a conceptual masker based on your past and conditioning and everything like that. That's what you think Tony is.
Yeah, but I know that there's a concept.
Right, well, who's seeking them? You're not going to relate it to the concept.
And can I throw one in?
Yeah, for all this.
Who knows it's a concept?
So it goes back to who I really am.
Yes, that's what I was talking about.
Yeah, I'm sort of separating myself from it in a way.
Yeah.
By saying that I'm a seeker, when in actual fact, it's all coming out from the same.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome.
So you must be that, where it's come from.
That's great.
It occurred to me while you were talking.
We got over it.
Yeah, Julia was saying something.
Yeah,
Yeah,
nothing
what
really.
occurred?
No,
Yeah, just say it. Just say it.
Go for it.
Just that you were talking earlier about awareness.
We're talking all the time.
I know, but you're talking a lot about it. But well, you used the word earlier. You were discussing it, and it occurred, and I don't know why I've thought of this before, but it just started thinking that it never turns off.
Yeah.
Never.
Yeah.
It doesn't.
Like it never turns off. And
Yeah.
of course I get the idea there's no spatial boundaries to it. There's no beginning or end to it. It's never off. It's always on. It must be what I am.
Absolutely.
You
If
know,
that
at
was
least if-
turning on and off,
And I
you
can't
would
find
be awareness
it. I
of
can't even
turning on
find
and
it.
off. Yeah,
And
totally.
realise that the whole manifestation appears in that awareness. There's no one out there discriminating, so this is good or this is bad. It's just that pure awareness. It's not unaware.
Yeah,
Everything.
yeah. Without it.
And you can't turn it off, so you are that. Take it. It's yours.
And notice how the mind is trying to take ownership and discuss it or understand it or feed it in, because that's the tendency. And just see the tendency. Ah, the moment where there is absolutely nothing, like yeah, and then a quiet, and the eyes go a little bit like well, let me chew on it a little bit. Gone. It's good to actually notice that tendency, because that's how it happens. The insight is when the mind is not. There is no mind, and the mind kicks in. How am I gonna remember it? Oh, maybe gone. And the mind will drop again, and it will show itself fresh and new, always fresh and new. Even the same, because it is a very, very same singularity, but it's always fresh.
We're well over.
Okay.
Well, there's nothing other than that. Everything is that. You know. But we adorn the thatness with, just like we dress ourselves up with makeup and clothes and God knows what, with all sorts of concepts. But the thatness is unadorned by any concept. Full stop.
Yes.
Isn't that enough?
Yeah.
Yes.
When I'm listening to you guys speak, though, aren't I listening to concepts, though? So, like, I'm thinking about concepts as I'm listening to you guys speak.
You tell us, because you know the answer. The mind probably hears concept, but there is something beyond the mind that resonates with the silence, with the frequency that is. What's your heart hearing? Is there a relaxation or trust or just the being?
There's already an innate knowing. There is. Wouldn't be attracted to this. Just wouldn't be. You already know.
Yeah.
You actually already,
Are
you
that.
already know, because you are it. And that's why it's got nothing to do with me. That's why we keep coming back to this. We already know. And you don't realise that until you know that you know. So, you know.
And then you don't know.
Well, it's like,
As we were talking the other day.
it's like, you know, initially it's, I don't know that I don't know. Initially. When we first get introduced to this. Or even, we just don't know that we don't fucking know. We don't know. No fucking clue.
The average person on the street
Yeah.
would be in that category.
No
wouldn't he?
clue. So
Well,
I don't
I'm
know
just saying.
that I don't know. Then it goes to, I know that I don't know. Interesting. Fuck, now. And then it goes to, I know that I don't know.
So Mr. Rumfield was like that.
That's,
The unknown.
I know that I know that I don't know.
And I don't care, I don't need to know, because there is no me to know anything at all.
That's right.
Yeah, so the not knowing and the knowing is not a problem anymore, because there is no one to know. So there is no, even that even desire to find out who you are drops off, because the question, who am I, is the questioner itself, is the seeker. The seeker asks the question and starts the whole show. If there is no question, there is no seeker, there is no questioner, there is no one who needs to know, and the seeking is not required anymore. If I don't need to figure out who I am, why would I look for myself? And obviously, this only happens when there is no me to want to figure out.
That state of I don't know that I don't know is kind of like ignorance. We just don't know. And that state of I know that I don't know. I hated that. Fucking hated not knowing. Like I came, but that was better than ignorance, kind of. Ignorance is bliss. Yeah, kind. So, you know, I know that I don't know. I didn't like that. I didn't like that feeling of not knowing. I didn't like that. So off I went. Boom. Gotta fucking know. Now I gotta know. You know. And then you eventually get to, I know that I don't know. You don't give a shit. You don't care anymore. Like that.
You go the extra step sort of thing.
That all drops off. Just drops away.
Okay, we almost 15 minutes over.
Because you can't describe it anyway. At the end of the day, it cannot be described. It just, I mean, we can describe it, but we know the description's not the thing. I know that I know. That I don't know. Fucking that's great. I don't give a shit about not knowing. Whereas prior to that, I couldn't live with that.
No, there was an I that could give a shit, and now there's no I that can give a shit.
I just couldn't live with that. I had to know. That for me was the seeking. That for me was the search. I have to know. And that had to be there. It's just all part of the play. Or the way that this was playing out. It's okay. But going through it was yuck. Fuck, I hate not knowing. Hate it. Gotta know. And boy, did I fill my head up with a lot of stuff that later just dropped away. But it's just part of it. But getting to that, I know that I know that I don't know is so liberating. Just so.
And you love to not knowing. It's
Yeah.
just the sweetest thing
So
not to
beautiful.
know and not to need to know, not to have any desire to know. Just freedom, complete freedom from having the answer and all that.
It's kind of refreshing when others admit that they don't know. You know, have you ever gone somewhere and you try to get directions from somebody and people try to fake it till and they'll oh I don't know, but they'll because they have to tell you something. They have to. They have to.
Yeah.
One of the Christian saints wrote the book, The Cloud of Unknowing. You know, famous book.
What was that?
It said in Christian Science they have a book about called The Cloud of
Not,
Unknowing.
not in Christian Science, one of the ancient Christian saints.
Oh, Christian Saints. I thought you said Christian Science. Sorry.
The Cloud of Unknowing.
Cool.
So it's there. Come on, we're not here all day.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you.